The night air was still warm when the Black Panther emerged from the dense shadows of the forest, her sleek body moving silently between the trees as if she were part of the darkness itself. Rangers later named her Nyla, but in that moment, she was simply a mother whose world had recently shattered. Only days earlier, a violent clash with rival predators had taken her newborn cub from her, leaving behind an emptiness that echoed louder than any roar. Her instincts were restless, her senses heightened, searching for something to protect, something to anchor the overwhelming pull of loss that lingered in her chest. As she moved closer to the edge of the savannah, a faint sound reached her ears, almost swallowed by the night wind. It was not the cry of her own kind, but it carried the unmistakable tone of fear and helplessness. Hidden among tall grasses near a dry riverbed were two tiny lion cubs, their golden fur dusty and matted, their bodies pressed tightly together for warmth. Their mother had fallen earlier that evening during a territorial fight, leaving them exposed to the dangers of the wild. Too young to run, too weak to defend themselves, they whimpered softly, unaware that every sound they made could attract death. Nyla froze, her muscles tense. Instinct told her these were not hers, that they belonged to a rival species she would one day see as prey or competition. Yet another instinct, deeper and far older, urged her closer. She circled them slowly, her yellow eyes scanning the darkness for threats, her nose catching the scent of blood and fear. The cubs shrank back, expecting the worst, but instead of teeth or claws, they felt warmth as Nyla lay down beside them, her powerful body forming a shield against the night. At first light, a wildlife monitoring team observed the scene from a distance, stunned into silence. A fully grown black panther lying protectively over two lion cubs was something none of them had ever witnessed. Emma Carter, a field biologist with years of experience studying big cats, lowered her binoculars in disbelief. Every rule of nature suggested this situation should end violently, yet there Nyla was, gently grooming one of the cubs with slow, careful strokes of her tongue. "We shouldn't interfere," Emma whispered to her team, her voice tight with emotion. "If we move in now, we could break something extraordinary." And so, they waited, documenting every movement, every interaction, as a story unlike any other began to unfold. The days that followed tested the limits of survival. Nyla led the cubs away from open areas, guiding them into thicker cover where her dark coat blended seamlessly with the shadows. She adjusted her movements to their unsteady steps, slowing her pace, stopping often to let them rest. Hunting became more difficult, as she could not leave them unattended for long, yet her skill and patience allowed her to bring down small prey and return quickly. When she ate, she allowed the cubs to approach, nudging pieces of meat toward them, teaching them in her own way how to feed. The cubs, later named Leo and Max by the research team, clung to her side, their tiny bodies pressing against her whenever unfamiliar sounds echoed through the forest. Other predators noticed the unusual trio. Hyenas circled at a distance, confused by the scent combination they could not quite understand. A pride of lions passed nearby one afternoon, their roars sending vibrations through the ground. Leo and Max froze in fear, instinctively recognizing their own kind yet unable to respond. Nyla positioned herself in front of them, her body low, her gaze unwavering. She did not roar or charge. She simply stood her ground, radiating a calm dominance that made the lions hesitate. After a tense standoff, the pride moved on, leaving behind silence and a moment that would later be described as nothing short of miraculous. As weeks turned into months, the cubs grew stronger. Their legs steadied, their playful energy returning in bursts that contrasted sharply with Nyla's composed nature. They pounced on leaves, chased insects, and occasionally tumbled over one another, only to scurry back to Nyla when the world felt too big. She tolerated their antics with quiet patience, correcting them gently when their play became too rough. Though she could never teach them how to roar like lions or claim territory as a pride, she taught them something just as valuable: awareness, caution, and the importance of reading the world around them before acting. The research team continued to observe from afar, careful never to interfere. Emma often spoke softly into her recorder, noting how Nyla adjusted her behavior to suit the cubs' needs. how she seemed to understand their vulnerability despite their species difference. "This isn't just adoption," she said one evening as the sun dipped below the horizon. "This is adaptation. She's rewriting what we think we know about instinct." And indeed, Nyla's presence changed the cubs in subtle ways. They learned to move quietly, to rely less on sound and more on sight and scent, traits uncommon in lions but essential for survival in their unique situation. Challenges came as the cubs grew larger. Their increasing size made concealment more difficult, and their playful roars, though still weak, risked drawing attention. Nyla responded by relocating them to a den hidden among rocky outcrops, a place where echoes were swallowed by stone and shadows were plentiful. It was there that Leo and Max experienced their first real test. One night, while Nyla was out hunting, a lone hyena ventured too close, drawn by curiosity. The cubs huddled together, fear freezing them in place. When Nyla returned, she did not attack immediately. She positioned herself between the threat and the cubs, her posture alone enough to send the hyena retreating. It was a lesson the cubs would never forget. Strength was not always about aggression, but about control. As the seasons changed, the cubs began to resemble young lions, their manes just starting to form, their confidence growing. Nyla seemed to sense that their future could not remain intertwined forever. She began encouraging independence in subtle ways, allowing them to explore slightly farther each day, watching from a distance rather than staying constantly by their side. When they stumbled, she did not always rush in, letting them learn through experience while remaining close enough to intervene if needed. Leo and Max, though bonded deeply to her, started responding more to the calls of distant lions, their instincts pulling them toward a destiny Nyla could not follow. The day came when a small pride approached the area, drawn by the scent of young lions. Nyla observed from the shadows as Leo and Max reacted, their bodies tense but curious. The pride's lionesses advanced cautiously, recognizing the cubs as their own kind yet confused by the absence of a lioness mother. Nyla stayed hidden, knowing that stepping forward could trigger violence. Instead, she watched as one of the lionesses approached slowly, sniffing the cubs, her posture non-threatening. After a long, silent moment, the lioness nudged Leo gently, then Max, a gesture of acceptance. Nyla remained still, her heart heavy but resolute. She understood this was not abandonment. It was completion. That evening, as the cubs followed the pride into the fading light, Nyla watched from a distance, her silhouette barely visible against the darkening forest. She did not follow. She turned away quietly, disappearing into the shadows she knew so well. The research team later noted that she returned to her solitary routines, hunting alone, moving through her territory with the same grace as before. Yet something had changed. She lingered near the edge of the savanna more often, as if listening for familiar sounds carried on the wind. Months later, Emma and her team spotted two young lions thriving within their pride, stronger and more aware than others their age. They moved with a unique blend of confidence and caution, traits that hinted at their unusual upbringing. And deep within the forest, a black panther continued her solitary life, her story etched quietly into the fabric of the wild, unseen by most, unforgettable to those who witnessed it. Stories like this remind us that nature is far more complex and compassionate than we often believe. Bonds can form in the most unexpected ways, and survival sometimes depends on kindness as much as strength. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who loves wildlife, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories from the wild. Your support helps keep these incredible journeys alive and reminds us all that even in the harshest places, compassion can still find a way.